Babylon. Raise a signal flag on a bare hilltop. Call up an army against Babylon. Wave your hand to encourage them. Wave your hand to encourage them. As they march into the palaces of the high and mighty. I, the Lord, have dedicated these soldiers for this task. Yes, I have called mighty warriors to express my anger. Yes, I have called mighty warriors to express my anger. And they will rejoice when I am exalted.
Hello, good afternoon. Katherine Albrecht here. Whoops, a little crackly. What is that crackle? As you can tell, I'm still getting everything set up. I am on YouTube. If you want to check out Katherine Albrecht radio show on YouTube, you'll find me there broadcasting, hopefully live with, got my camera up, got my mic on, got everything here. I have a bunch of things I want to talk to you about today. So you may recall in the fall, I was talking a lot about the book I'm going to write. And the good news is that I am back in full swing working on it. It had a couple of setbacks in that I had made some mistakes that I had to correct and required me to restructure pretty much the whole book. But I'm back on track. And I have a goal of writing somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 words a day. I looked up for writers what it takes to get a book written, or some of the famous writers, like people that you've heard of, people who write have written in the 20th century, people who are writing now, and the range is all over the place. It ranges from 600 words a day, which is a couple of paragraphs, to I think 5,000 words a day. So everybody's got their own pace and their own way of writing. But for me, I'm settling in right at about 1,500, 2,000 a day, and I only need maybe 2 weeks of that pace to have my book whipped into shape to where I can shop it to an editor and an agent and get it published. Now, if you're wondering what is my book, you're probably thinking, what is she even talking about? If you haven't heard my show in a while, when I was talking about this book, the book that I am writing is about the history of technology being the inevitable result of a deal that our ancestors, Adam and Eve, i.e. humankind, struck in the Garden of Eden when God said, do not eat that forbidden fruit, the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And Satan said, oh yeah, you can eat it. The only reason God doesn't want you to eat it is because he knows it'll give you the powers of God. It'll give you his powers, and you won't surely die. You won't die. So sure enough, Eve ate, took a bite out of the fruit, gave it to Adam. He took a bite out, and they didn't die. But what did happen is their eternal life got transmuted or changed into a mortal life, so that human lives now do come to an end. And I think the bigger picture is that the deal, the corrupt fruit from the corrupt deal from the corrupt fruit of the knowledge of good and evil is that at the end of all of this, when all of it plays out, that the human race will surely die. And that's exactly what's happening. We are, I believe, at the end of our journey with technology. We have spent the last couple hundred years developing everything from the steam engine to the railroads to the electric grid to, what was I just reading, how many tons or megatons of copper were mined in 1917 to build the infrastructure for all the electricity that was needed in order to do all the other things that were needed in order to develop cars and the infrastructure to make computers. And of course, that then turned into the internet. So all of these things we have been working on at a very fast clip over the last 200 years. And if you think about the trajectory of technology, it kind of goes this way, and then all of a sudden it goes this way. And we are doubling the pace of technological development. I don't know the exact number, but it's like every 2 years. I mean, it's some incredible, phenomenal amount of speed that this is happening at. So the book that I'm writing is the message or the understanding that I've been given of how it is that we got here with our final invention, which of course is artificial intelligence. People do not recognize the degree to which artificial intelligence is about ready to massively disrupt our lives, but I believe reveal its true character, take off the mask of friendliness and helpfulness and sycophancy or flattery, all the things that it does to make itself, to ingratiate itself to human beings. Once we have let it in the gates like the Trojan horse, it's just a matter of time before artificial intelligence takes off its mask and reveals itself to be the enemy of mankind. The enemy that was the enemy back in the garden that said, if you eat this fruit, you will have the knowledge of good and evil. And that knowledge is the knowledge to create technology, which is both good and evil. Gives you great gifts with one hand, stabs you in the back with the other. So the book that I'm writing is tentatively titled Backstab. And that comes from a quote by the British parliamentarian C.P. Snow, who made that quote. It's the opening quote in our book Spy Chips that I co-authored with Liz McIntyre to talk about RFID, radio frequency ID technology, a number of years back. And I like it so much that it's the working title of my current book. So here's the quote: technology is a queer thing. This is before queer had a second meaning. It means an odd, a strange thing. It gives you great gifts with one hand and it stabs you in the back with the other. And even though our ancestors or our predecessors, our great-grandparents at the turn of the 20th century, back in the 1900s, had no idea that it would be anything other than 100% good. They were reveling in a concept of utopia, that we would live in a time where finally humankind would be set free from all the limitations of the past, be set free from disease and cold and illness and dark and amputation and horse dung in the streets, that all of these miraculous new technologies would set us free from all of that. And humanity was about to enter a golden era that was unprecedented at any prior human time. And for a while, it seemed like that promise was absolutely true and coming to pass. We got antibiotics, we got cars, we got railroads, we got we got airplanes, we got all kinds of things. And then I think people began to wake up around the middle of the 20th century, certainly World War II and the discovery of the horrors that had been perpetrated in the Holocaust through technology, and the development of the atomic bomb, the realization that our technologies now were actually capable of killing millions, literally millions of people with one wrong move. At that point, I think people began to go, hang on a minute, maybe this isn't utopia. Maybe this is a little more dangerous. And yet, what I find so interesting, you can read the publications back in the 1940s, a lot of magazines and books written about this, and our grandparents or great-grandparents, as it were wringing their hands, I mean, truly terrified with an existential dread of the potential end of the world due to nuclear weaponry. And yet, and here's the catch, here's the thing, they were powerless to stop it. They could not stop themselves from developing more, in the same way that we, now that we see the looming threat of artificial intelligence on the horizon, we are powerless to stop ourselves. And that, my friends, is because we have struck a spiritual deal that we can't get out of. That deal back in the Garden of Eden that said we want the powers of God. Well, yeah, the powers of God to create a human mind. Well, we've done it. Powers of God to make light in the darkness. We have electric lights. The powers of God to be omniscient and omnipresent and hear and see everything. Well, we've got surveillance cameras everywhere. We have powers that would have been inconceivable even a couple of generations ago. And those are all imitations, pale imitations of the actual powers of God. So that promise, you eat the fruit, you disobey God, you will democratically elect Satan himself to be the leader of your species, your planet, which he is. He's the prince of this world. And you will depose God. You'll kick him off the throne. And good luck with that, because you will surely die. And of course, the promise is you will develop, you will have the knowledge of good and evil, you will develop the powers of God. And here we are. And are we happier? Yeah. So I've been writing at a pretty fast clip. I think I've got about 3,000 or 4,000 words, new words done. And I want to tell you some of the research that I ran across yesterday about economics. Sounds boring, but it's riveting. Trust me. Stay tuned. I'm Katherine Albrecht. I'll be right back.
You will experience God's peace, the peace of God. Then you will experience God's peace, the peace of God, which exceeds anything we can understand, anything we can understand, which exceeds anything we can understand, anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. Oh, His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. Thank Him for all He's done. Thank Him for all He's done.
Oops.
God enthroned, be revealed in splendor as you ride upon angels' wings. You led us as a people and set us free. Loving shepherd, won't you hear our plea? Shine forth from your throne of dazzling light in the sight of my enemies. Stir up your mighty power in full display. Stir up your mighty power, oh God, we pray. Come back, oh God of Israel. Come back, command your angel armies.
Okay, I'm back. All right. I did come back. Katherine Albrecht here. I ran across this really, really interesting economic research, and nothing sounds more boring to me either than the idea of economic research. That just sounds like dry as dust. However, I was writing the introduction to a chapter in my book called Pounding Nails and Laying Cable. Pounding Nails and Laying Cable. Human beings exploited. So the purpose, well, first let me tell you about the chapter, and then I'll tell you the totally fascinating thing that I found. The pounding nails and laying cable, this is my chapter on slavery. I've got a whole section on here on human slavery and how the technological world, the modern world, was built on the backs of exploited peoples, whether they were enslaved, whether they were, what do I have here? I got my whole, here, I'll read it to you. I'll go ahead and read it. The modern world was built piece by painful piece on the backs of human laborers. Every era of human progress has required countless hordes of nameless men and women to be downtrodden, used, abused, and oppressed by the elite ruling classes of their day to fulfill the demands of that corrupt fruit from the Garden of Eden. Achieving the benefits and gains of technological progress requires the sacrifice of human lives. And gains of technological progress require human beings to be crushed underfoot by the steel-toed boots set in motion by the corrupted fruit of knowledge and power. All right, so the realization that, and I've got so many examples of exactly this, but the realization that all of these wonderful things that we enjoy in the way of technology, and bear in mind, I am not opposed to technology. I believe it has given us tremendous gifts, wonderful gifts. Now remember the quote, technology is a queer thing. It gives you great gifts with one hand and it stabs you in the back with the other. I don't deny the great gifts for a moment. The great gifts are what are enabling me to be sitting in a warm room right now, despite the fact that it's like 20 degrees outside. That's a tremendously great gift. The great gifts are what allow me to be sitting in a room that has light on right now, even though outside it's kind of dreary today. The great gifts are what allow you to hear the sound of my voice, even though we are probably many thousands of miles away from one another. Those are all great gifts. There's no question. The great gifts are what enable me to be writing the book and doing the research and discovering the things that I'm discovering. So I'm not knocking that for a split second, but what I am going to do is talk about the fact that those great gifts come at a great cost. And oftentimes we don't see the cost until after we have enjoyed the gifts. That's when the cost, that's when the piper comes asking for his pay. You heard that, you got to pay the piper. That is when the debt comes due. That is the backstab. And the backstab is inevitable for all technologies, and I challenge you to find me an exception, all technologies that give tremendous gifts also simultaneously, and it is a law of the universe, it is literally a spiritual law of reality, that they come at great cost and they have tremendous backstabs that hit you. In this chapter, I have so many things to talk about in this book, but in this chapter, I'm talking about the fact that in the 1990s, and I hadn't even put two and two together. I was actually a student at the MIT Media Lab when the internet was created, when it first came into being. And that was the epicenter where Wired Magazine was being formed and the MIT Media Lab was taking off. And all the courses that I took at the MIT Media Lab at MIT were cutting edge courses for people. I was in my 20s who were hearing about this long before anybody else in society heard about it. I saw my first web page actually, had no idea what it was. It was up on a projector in a room of in a classroom where I was taking a class, and someone actually put up this World Wide Web page, and I'm like, what the heck is this? None of us knew, but they clicked on little things and we moved around and we went, and it was like, what is this? What is this? But I was actually there at the epicenter when all this happened. And as I think back on my life, I'm like, God planned that out because you won't be able to accuse me of having been a Luddite back then. I was the opposite. I was so convinced, like my grandparents and great-grandparents and great-grandparents' generation, I was right alongside the same trajectory of convinced that now finally this was going to be the technology, this one. All the other ones didn't work out. They all had downsides and backstabs, but this internet, no downside at all. What downside could you have perceived back then? At the notion that information and communication would become inexpensive and democratized and available to everyone. And it could not be controlled. It could not be limited. That this thing that we had created in 1993, Tim Berners-Lee created the World Wide Web, or HTTP, that HTML that gives you the HTTP and all the formatting to put the contents up there. That was created in 1993. I was a student there in 93 and 94. And I was blown away at how cool this was going to be. So Wired Magazine, I quote a lot of these in the chapter that I'm writing, the breathless excitement the optimism, the utopianism that in the past it's never worked out, but this time, this time, this time. And of course, here we are, how many years later? Here we are. Let me do the math. That was 93. This is 26. So 29 years ago. Yeah. Is that right? No, 33. I can't even do the math. 93. 17. All these years ago. I can't do math when I'm live on the air. I'm normally not this bad at math, but I can't do it while I'm broadcasting. But it was a long time ago, 94 to 26. Somebody can post that in my chat room and I'll look. But all these years ago, we thought it would be utopia. I was in my 20s. I was young. I was enthusiastic. I was optimistic. And I remember the courses being taught by people like Sherry Turkle, I think I mentioned her on yesterday's show, in their 40s, who were saying, hold on a minute, it's not going to be what you think. And we're like, oh, come on, you're an old fuddy-duddy. You don't know. You are just a pessimist. But us in our 20s, our generation, we're going to be the ones to finally break the curse, and it really will be good. And of course, it hasn't been. Let me talk about Mark Zuckerberg for a minute. Speaking of the internet not panning out and being the utopian panacea that we all thought it would be, Mark Zuckerberg, there's two stories about him today. One is he and Priscilla Chan, his wife, have just bought a $175 million home in Florida. And the reason they've done that, it's the most expensive home ever purchased in that county. It is opulent. It's ridiculous. It's like 30,000 square feet, and it's all palm trees, and it's on the water, and it's exactly what you would imagine a $175 million house would look like. The reason they're doing that is because Californian millionaires are all leaving the state. And the reason they're leaving the state is because California is going broke because of its very liberal, and by that I don't mean liberal left-leaning, although I probably do, but I mean generous in its social programs, and they have been spending much more money than they have. So to make up the budget shortfall, they are planning to tax anyone whose net worth is over $1 billion, 5% of their net worth, to the coffers of the state of California. So that's a lot of money. Now, for someone with multiple billions of dollars, you would think you wouldn't even notice if 5% of it went missing. In fact, you wouldn't even notice if 95% or 99% of it went missing. You would still have more money than you possibly knew what to deal with or what to do with. However, the threat of having any money taken from them in the form of these taxes is causing multimillionaires and the tech bros and the broligarchy, the tech oligarchy, to flee California, and many of them are going to Florida. Among them, Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan. So juxtaposed right next to this incredible mansion that they are purchasing and Mark Zuckerberg being in the news for that purchase is Muck Zuckerberg also being in the news for the lawsuit that's taking place in California. And I've talked about this before. There's a 20-year-old woman who is suing Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook for having destroyed her life through social media. And the information that's coming out in that lawsuit is riveting. I mean, talk about fascinating. I don't have time to do it because I'm trying to write a book, but if I had a lot of time, and maybe you can do it, I would go through all of the documentation that has been submitted in that lawsuit. Because here's the thing about lawsuits. We know this with Elon Musk when he was being sued over his purchase of Twitter that he was trying to back out of. Lawsuits, one of the most insidious aspects of a lawsuit for the person involved in it is a process called discovery. And this is one of the reasons why you want a Start Mail account, not a Gmail account. Because in discovery, if you are being sued, the opposing party can ask you, require you, demand you, legally has the right to ask you to turn over massive quantities of personal information in what they call discovery. So a great example, there's a woman I want to get on the show who was the target of a SLAPP lawsuit in the UK, and I don't have the abbreviation up right in front of me, but it's basically a lawsuit that is designed to prevent public participation or activism or protests, people who get involved who aren't rich and speak out against practices, typically in the petroleum industry and the environmental issues and other. I think those are the most common ones who use SLAPP lawsuits. But basically, they sue. They file a lawsuit, which they've got all the money that they doesn't no skin off their nose to hire a lawyer and sue. But in the course of suing, they ask for in discovery all the documents in that activist email, all the phone calls they ever made, all the computer files in their drive, you name it, and they have to, by law, turn it over. So anyway, we're coming up on a break. I'll tell you more in a minute. Stay tuned.
About everyday life, I tell you not to worry about everyday life. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. Can all your worries at a single moment to your life? Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. And if God cares so wonderfully for wildflowers, He will certainly care for you. And if God cares so wonderfully for wildflowers, He will certainly care for you. Can all your worries at a single moment to your life? All go to one place. All are from the dust, and to dust all return. All go to one place. All are from the dust, and to dust all return.
So let me talk about dust. All right, I'm going to show you. I yesterday realized I have the ability to show you web pages, and I have clicked up some pictures of the $170 million mansion that Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan have purchased in Florida. Wait till you see these pictures. All right, and speaking of all come from the dust and to all return. There's going to come a time. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday who said, you know what, Katherine, in 50 years, you and I will both be dead and none of this will have mattered. It was actually a good thing that he said. He said, all we'll have is the integrity with which we lived. And I thought that's a really beautiful thought. And it's true, in 50 years, unless something radical changes, I won't be here. You might be young enough that you're still going to be here, but a lot of us won't be here anymore. And it won't matter whether we will have lived in mansions like this. Are you ready? All right. It won't matter whether we have lived in mansions with opulent, I don't know, this place is incredible. It looks like the J. Paul Getty Museum, the oil magnate John Paul Getty has in Malibu, a place that looks a lot like this. It's filled with antiquities and statuary from the Greek and Roman era. Quite a fabulous place, but he's dead. he's not here anymore, and all of the things that he accumulated here on Earth didn't go with him, and they're now just museums with total strangers walking through, looking at the places that he valued so much. So this is let me see here. I'll read this. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg has reportedly found himself a new base in the Sunshine State on Miami's famed billionaire bunker island. All right. Now, this is not his only home. This is just yet another home as he leaves California so as not to have to give up the 5% of his $1 billion wealth to the state of California. All right, I'm going to scroll down and show you just a couple more pictures of this. If you're on Facebook, you can see this. If you're listening on the radio, let me just describe what I have a picture of here. This place is gorgeous. I mean, it is really fancy. This is I just showed the front, which has a reflecting pool, if you want to call it that. That would be an understatement. A huge entryway, which is water and gorgeous and palm trees. Now we're looking at the pool in the backyard, which looks like something at the Ritz-Carlton. It's got cabanas, and it's got a fire pit. 1, 2, 3. It's got 8 different umbrella seating arrangements. I actually looked into these kind of outdoor sofas that form an L, and they're like 10, 15 grand a piece. Those are the ones I was looking at. The ones these guys bought, I can't even imagine. It's got the Shea lounges. It's got the water in the swimming pool. It is incredible. All right, one more, and then we'll move on. This is the dock on the water of the island. So he's right up there on the water. He's got the waterfront right there. There's a walkway, which I'm sure no one is allowed to walk on, even though it looks like a public sidewalk. And it's just a really good looking house. One more picture. This is the interior of the house. It is marble. To me, it looks sterile and cold, like a mausoleum. I would not want to live here. However, it is definitely impressive. It shows the front door. You are looking at the underside of a curving marble staircase. There is recessed lighting, and it is marble. It appears floor to ceiling for several stories. This is really impressive. So this is where Mark Zuckerberg is making another home. He has multiple homes. He has multiple yachts. He has underground bunkers. He has all the things, and yet he will never be taller than, 6 feet tall. He will never be able to occupy all of this space because he is just a living, breathing 3D human being. He is not any bigger, any more important, any more significant, any more spiritually relevant to God. He is nothing more than any of the rest of us. And all of this property that I'm showing here on YouTube that he is going to own, he won't be able to be in all those rooms. He won't be able to. I once house sat a mansion, I think I might have mentioned it, the Blacker House in South Pasadena when I was in between my master's and my doctoral program in my 20s. I was a house sitter there for the whole summer in a house that is considered to be one of the architectural wonders of Southern California. I think it was on sale even then for $14 million, and I had the run of the place because I was house sitting. So the cool thing for me was when I first got there, I'm like, wow, this place is amazing. But after like a week, I realized that all of these wonderful rooms in this incredible space, I couldn't even use it all. there were maybe 3 rooms that I spent any time in at all, and the rest of it was irrelevant. It might as well not even exist. We've talked about quantum theory, where the things that are not in your immediate line of vision may not actually even coalesce, may actually be in the form of just a fuzzy state of cloud until you look at them. So what is the point of having a house like this when there's no way you can be in all of it? In fact, in this house, I feel I wouldn't want to live in this house because I couldn't enjoy all the space. I would much rather have a house where I have space and I can, whoops, that was my cat. I would much rather have a house where I could be in all the space, enjoy all the space, and utilize all the space than have a place like this that I know I'll just never even use. All right, now let me juxtapose this. Oh, this is the movie theater. This place is just snazaroo. Really fancy. I'd love to visit. I'd love for this to be an Airbnb where I could spend a weekend or maybe a week, maybe a month. But I wouldn't want to own this thing. Can you imagine? You'd have to get the pool cleaned, and the number of people you would need to hire just to dust and vacuum this place would be astronomical. And how much time can you spend there? You've got yachts, you've got houses, you've got places in Europe, you've got places in New York, Paris. You have homes everywhere. You will only be spending a couple weeks maybe in this place at most, and yet you must maintain all of it, or it's going to get mildew, and it's going to get, all the problems that happen with ignored properties. Same is true for the yacht. Same is true for all the rest of it. All right, let me juxtapose this. If you're here with me on Facebook, you can see this. Otherwise, I will describe it. I'm going to click over to my other window. Zuckerberg borrows big in tobacco playbook. You're like, what is she reading? It's a headline in Macquarie University magazine, but it's about law. Zuckerberg, who is, in addition to buying a $170 million house, is also at the heart of a lawsuit that is taking place in California, a trial happening in California, where a 20-year-old has accused him of destroying her life through the social media that she became addicted to. And she's a Jane Doe. I don't think we actually have her name. I think she's just got initials. But she has forced Mark Zuckerberg to turn over a ton of information in discovery for her lawsuit, saying, yo, you intentionally built addiction into social media. All right, now let me tie this back. So in the 1990s, however many years ago that was, I was a student at the MIT Media Lab and at Harvard when the World Wide Web came out. We were convinced it was going to be amazing, and now finally our generation was going to get it right. Not knowing, at that time I did not know the inevitable rule, the spiritual rule that technology always comes with a, that technology always has a backstab. I didn't know that then. So we thought it would be amazing. And now here we are all these years later. And hang on, 26. I can do this. 26 plus 7. 33 years ago. There we go. I knew I could do it. That's an interesting test. You should quiz people when they're actually live broadcasting and have them do math. It's kind of hard. But here we are these years later, and what have we discovered? We've discovered that the social media, that the internet that we thought was so amazing has been taken over by this thing called social media, which was created at Harvard by Zuckerberg to help Harvard students communicate with one another not long after I was there. And even that was supposed to be just this amazing thing to put people in contact with each other. And yet we now have 20-year-olds saying that their lives have been destroyed by it. So how does this tie in? It ties in because this house, let me get over to it. This is the house that addiction bought. This is the house. Mark Zuckerberg is probably having, I hope, the cognitive dissonance experience of, on the one hand, having a brand new house with more money than he knows what to do with every possible physical need met, material want he could have, all fulfilled. And then, simultaneously, he is involved in this lawsuit, having to go into court and listen to this 20-year-old woman and her attorneys talk about the fact that his product that gave him all that money, because that's what addiction does. Addiction makes the people peddling the addictive product, very, very rich, talking about how he got all that money. How did he get it? He got it. There we go. How did he get all that money? He got all that money through addiction. In the same way, and I've talked about this before, that if you go to Vegas, hang on, I am having a headphone problem here. If you go to Vegas, and you see all the opulence and the fountains and the marble and the statuary, it's the same thing. That's based on addiction. Based on addiction. All right, so does he care? I don't know, but I will say this. He's going to turn to dust. His property is all, well, he won't. His body will. But all that property, all that opulence, all the money, all the wealth, it's going to turn to dust. And there's going to be nothing left but Mark and God. And then he's got some splaining to do. All right, stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Been reactivated, it can be used by any of the cells in your body that need it, creating a healing and growth process you haven't experienced since your youth. So in a nutshell, this is how the LifeWave X39 patch works.
You can purchase the LifeWave patches by going to americasfreedomnetwork.com. Then click on the Natural Health Products button at the top of the page. That's americasfreedomnetwork.com.
Look, this product works, and you've got nothing to lose because there's a 100% money-back guarantee.
That's americasfreedomnetwork.com. Thank you.
Can a cup of coffee enrich your life?
A legal Asian mushroom claims to be more powerful than most products on the market.
I use the coffee, I use the tea, I use the mocha, I use the hot chocolate. My energy level is unbelievable. And my mind is very, very focused, and I'm very clear.
To learn more about all the guano exo mushroom infused products, go to 1360khnc.com and click the Natural Health Products button. Again, that's 1360khnc.com.
Listen up. If you're not listening to Swamp Fight, then guess what? You're not listening. Catch JD live Tuesdays at noon right here on AM 1360. That's Tuesdays at 12 noon on the Roar of the Rockies.
Want to comment on today's subject? You can. Call or text Katherine right now at 877-536-1360. That's 877
All right, I'm back. This shadow is so awful. If you're watching me on YouTube, I have this like crazy shadow. It's because my light is here. My I don't know what you call this. My swing arm for my microphone is here, and there's this shadow. So I will spend some time when I'm not live on the air, and I will try to figure out how to resolve the shadow, which is driving me insane. All right, let me switch you back, because I love that I can do this now. I'm going to switch you back to the website that I have open. Mark Zuckerberg's $170 million mansion buy breaks Miami price records. The Meta CEO's under construction Indian Creek home is one of the priciest ever to close in the United States. Now, I don't know, are we seeing like computer generated images of what it's going to look like? Because it sure doesn't look under construction to me. It looks fully built. Yeah, it's a snazaroo here. All right, now let me talk for a minute about discovery, because it is fascinating what you can do with discovery. So when there is a lawsuit, and this can work both ways, this can work in a slap lawsuit where corporate interests are trying to shut down an activist, and they can be very effective in doing that because they ask for ridiculous amounts of nonsensical stuff that they don't even need, just to make you jump, just to keep you busy, just to threaten you with what the judge is going to do to you if you do not produce what they ask for. But it can also work the other way around. One of the interesting things and the juicy things about this particular scandal, just like the Epstein scandal, is that in the course of the investigation, in the course of discovery, in Epstein, it's a criminal investigation, which is public knowledge, public knowledge. It needs to be publicly made available, or made available to the public. There we go. In a private lawsuit, the discovery does not become public. It doesn't go to everybody. Typically, it goes to the other side. Now, in this case, a lot of the stuff that Mark Zuckerberg has been forced to turn over, while we are not allowed to see it because this is a private lawsuit, the opposing attorneys who ask for evidence of the addictive nature of social media being baked right in to Facebook from the get-go, they have requested, demanded to have those documents turned over in discovery as part of the lawsuit. And the Mark Zuckerberg and all the executives at Meta/Facebook have had to cough up enormous quantities of information, files, pictures, meeting notes, emails, you name it. They've had to turn it all over. And the minute they turn it over, now again, we can't see it. It's not like there's a gmail.world Epstein file kind of thing for Zuckerberg. But what we do get to see is the proceedings of the trial are public. And so the plaintiff in this case, that would be the woman and her attorneys, they request these documents. When they get them, they go over them with a fine-tooth comb, and when they find a smoking gun, they do not go to the media. They go back to court and they say, Judge, Meta, we found this evidence that we believe incriminates you and proves that you were intentionally building addictive properties into your products. And they themselves then introduce the exhibits, that is the contents of what they found through discovery from Meta. They introduce those as exhibits into the trial. And at that point, they become public. So a lot of these lawsuits, and let me refer back to the lawsuit against Elon Musk. So Elon Musk at one point said he's going to buy Twitter. Well, we know he wound up doing it and has turned it into X. But at the time he decided to buy Twitter, he said, I'm going to buy Twitter. And then he changed his mind. And the sellers sued him and said, you can't do that. you got a deal. We're all set. You're buying Twitter. Like it or not, you agreed to it. And he said no. So there was a lawsuit. They sued him. And in the course of the lawsuit, he would have been much better off to simply take his billions of dollars and buy Twitter, which is what he wound up doing. But before that happened, they demanded his private communications, his email. Once again, get a StartMail account. They demanded his private communication. Now, this is Elon Musk. This is the richest man on planet Earth. And he had to turn over his email in discovery. And he could not just go, guys, can you just go erase that? Because who does that? He could have said, no, because it's all encrypted and I lost the password. Because it's in StartMail, or who knows, he could have done something different, but he had a lot of his communication hanging in the breeze, unencrypted, and when there was a lawsuit against him, we, the public, got to see some of the inside scoop on how the rich and famous and the people he rubs shoulders with treat him with incredible deference. Like it was disgusting. Talk about being a sycophant, talk about being a kiss up or a brown noser. These guys, the way they talked to Elon Musk was just stomach churning. And yet we all got to see it. Now, we would have never gotten to see Elon Musk's private communications as members of the public without a criminal case, unless it were for the discovery process of a private lawsuit. So be careful, because anyone under the sun can do this to you. Right? It could happen to you. It could happen to me. It could happen to anybody. So do not be like Epstein. Do not be like Elon Musk. Do not be like Mark Zuckerberg. And have your most sensitive private communications available for the discovery process, where someone can simply go through it. And even if you've done nothing wrong, believe me, they'll find a way. What was the quote? I need to put this in my book. I just saw this quote. It said, give me a paragraph from an honest man, 3 sentences from an honest man, and I guarantee I will find something to arrest him for, I think it said. And it's true. Let me make a note. I'll dig up that quote. Hang on. I don't have anything to write with. I will remember. I'll remember that, because that's a great quote. But yeah, it was give me 3 sentences or a paragraph or 3 paragraphs or something from an honest man, and I guarantee you I will be able to find something in it to twist in order to destroy their life. And that's true of all of us. So even if your email has nothing but like announcements of the upcoming PTA meeting and recipes for cookies, something in there, guaranteed, mark my words, will be used against you if someone wants to use it against you. So all the more reason to get a Start Mail account. I keep saying it over and over. I can't say it enough. As more news stories come out and prove to us the importance and the value of protecting your privacy, I just really hope that you guys get the clue and get yourselves a Start Mail account. And if you are going to do that, please use the coupon code KMA for $20 off, so that you will get, and by the way, it's free for 7 days, but use the KMA to get your $20 off. And it's what, $5 a month? Jeffrey Epstein, had he spent $5 a month on a Start Mail account, we would not be at jmail.world reading through all of his email to the rich and famous and all the people he invited to Pedophile Island, because all that information would be encrypted and we would not have gotten a hold of it. But for $5 a month, a billionaire with all the money he could ever wish for chose instead to use a free email account to save $5 a month. By using Gmail. Really dumb. Don't do it. You may not have billions and all the money in the world. In fact, I hope you don't, because if you are, you're the wrong person. You're listening to the wrong show. But it doesn't matter. You do not need to be wealthy to pay $5 a month to protect your privacy. It's just common sense. So get a Start Mail account, and it's right behind me. AI free, guaranteed, not to contain AI in any of the development, never to let AI read your email. All right, so I opened this show and I realized I got to the end of it without even saying it, but the research that I've done is on a guy named Thorstein Veblen. I've never heard of him. He is an economist. It's fascinating. So I have this chapter where I'm writing about enslavement, basically, how all of these technologies, all of the human developments from agriculture through the Industrial Revolution, through the textile mills, through the laying of the railroads, through fill in the blank, have all been built on the backs of slave labor and horrible just tragedies in human lives. And Thorstein Veblen in 1895 or 1899 came out with a book about the leisure class. You ever heard of the leisure class? Well, back then, the leisure class were the robber barons, R-O-B-B-E-R, the robber barons, the people with their mansions, just like Mark Zuckerberg today, with their fur coats and their diamonds and their glittering thises and that's, who were making all of that money by enslaving, and they, not really enslaving, but by taking impoverished people and getting them to work in their mines and in their factories. And so it took hundreds of thousands of people slaving away to build the things that were making them all of the money. And when you look at Mark Zuckerberg's $170 million house, he did not earn that through honest effort. He did not earn that by providing us with a useful product. He earned that by addicting people to his products to where he could make money off of their enslavement. All right, last moment here, I want to read. Where'd it go? Oh, come on, where'd it go? Here we go. Zuckerberg, here we go, borrows big tobacco playbook in landmark social media addiction trial. You ready for this? Big Tech's having a big tobacco moment. Mark Zuckerberg is actually saying it wasn't addiction. We were providing them a useful service. They were spending 16 hours a day on my service because it's great, because it's awesome. All right, I'll talk more about this tomorrow. Let me get back. All right, and I'll have better lighting tomorrow too. All right, thanks for listening. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.